Now we now turn focus to Japan. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida plans to replace 4 cabinet members who are embroiled in a political fund scandal involving the largest faction in his main ruling Liberal Democratic Party. Japanese Prime Minister is expected to make the move today, aiming to reshuffle the cabinet. Prime Minister Kishida is set to address media on Tuesday for end of parliamentary year press conference to explain the future steps. Earlier, a top Japanese minister, Hirokazu Matsuno, at the center of allegations of missing funds, survived a no-confidence motion. Local media has reported Matsuno is among 4 cabinet ministers who could be replaced. Gilbert is joining us from Tokyo to get us more. Chris, get us the confirmation on Fumio Kishida planning a cabinet reshuffle, and if so, can we get details of the cabinet ministers who might be ousted?
Well, local media is reporting that this is in fact coming tomorrow. He has another obstacle to get over first, which is the end of the extraordinary parliamentary session address. He has to get up in front of the entire parliament and the country, this evening, local time, Wednesday in Japan, to tout the accomplishments of his government over the last few months. And he has this huge scandal hanging over his entire government. We have already, just an hour ago, had the first official fall on their sword. That's the policy chief, Hagiuda. He is the first to resign, saying, with other, cabinet ministers in the firing line, him continuing is simply untenable. Coming up potentially tomorrow, it is slated that you mentioned the Chief Cabinet Secretary Matsuno. He is the face of the administration. He's the one that meets the press twice a day, and so he is the most visible. He is potentially in the firing line, as are the ministers of agriculture, internal affairs, and industry and trade. But look, let's remember that the Prime Minister's faction of the ruling party is embroiled in this too. This is largely going to stretch into the new year for this government, and the sharks are already circling for the Prime Minister as well. The local media here saying the early signs of the end of his leadership of the government.
All right, Chris, also help us understand, will the move somewhat stabilize support for Kishida, which is in fact, in some polls, this is the lowest for a Japanese premier in more than a decade now?
Yeah, it's bad news. I feel like every few weeks I'm saying it's been a bad few weeks for the Prime Minister. He wanted to turn around his fortunes a year ago in a cabinet reshuffle following, links between his cabinet and the now disgraced in Japan Unification Church. He did so, but then there's been a year of continued bad polling due to, the rising cost of living, the weak yen, low wages. He reshuffled his cabinet less than 3 months ago, hoping for yet again another fresh start. And here we go, the LDP. For not the first time in its history, remember, there have been several scandals afflicting the LDP way back to its formation after World War II, embroiled in yet another kickback scandal, 23% approval rating. The main consequence for the Prime Minister is his leadership of the party is up for renewal by October. He had been hoping, experts say, to hold a snap election before then to refresh his mandate. The polling is just too bad, they say, at the moment. The LDP may only bleed seats and the Prime Minister may only bleed power. So it's certainly not a good end to the year for the LDP or the Prime Minister in particular.
All right, Chris, we'll leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details.